everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the Automated Millionaire podcast or video channel. I'm Michael Pitzner, and I am the founder and creator of the Automated Millionaire, its programs and its coaching. Now today I want to kind of discuss and elaborate a little bit more about the introduction to the Automated Millionaire and what is in it for you, because that is indeed why you're here. You are here to gain something hopefully of such a value that is really going to change the profits in your business, the dynamics of your business, and thereby be able to make you more money and maybe also be able to transform your life into a much better life. If you go and visit my website, theautomatedmillionaire.com, you'll see a headline, at least currently, it may change later on, but currently it says, "Learn the secrets of a top business turnaround agent." So let's look at this a little bit. First of all, what is a top business turnaround agent? Well, a business turnaround agent is a business consultant who has an ability to go into a company and help them turn the business around from a very bad position of struggling, of large debts, poor results, maybe large losses, very poor cash flow, maybe very poor productivity, and typically companies that are really truly struggling, maybe even as close to being close to bankruptcy level, being close to that point in time when the business owners are really asking themselves the questions, well, is there any point in continuing? Should we just turn the key and throw in the towel and maybe declare bankruptcy, or certainly, if nothing else, then shut down the whole operation? And so the business turnaround agent, when this person is really good at their job, can actually come in and very rapidly go in and change some of the dynamics within the business. They can change the parameters, they can change the setup, they can change the way that things are being done in the business, and turn the business around, and preferably in a very speedy way. When you're close to bankruptcy, you really don't have, you're truly in the 11th hour. You don't have a lot of time just to dilly-dally and wait for results to come. You really need something that dramatically changes the results. Now, such a business expert may be really good at business, at the business of business, but may not necessarily, as I also explained in our episode number 1, may not necessarily be an expert in how to be a pharmacist. Like, for instance, when I came out to a pharmacy, I instantly knew that, and instantly learned from the pharmacist that the intricacies of the pharmacy world is so special, and it has a very specialized expertise and so on within the realm of being a pharmacist. But within the realm of running their business, I don't need to know all of the intricacies of being a pharmacist. So in other words, I was certainly no expert as a pharmacist, and I still am no expert as a pharmacist, but I was able to help the business of the pharmacy. So I could help the business owner and that business owner's team of recreating and restructuring and formalizing current and daily events to turn the business around into really good results. So in other words, a business expert is really good at the business, but not necessarily at the various trades. So for you, what does that mean? Well, it means that you are probably already very savvy at your trade. Let's say you are a carpenter, so you are probably really good at all sorts of carpentry, and how to pick the wood and how to cut it and how to put it together, and a myriad of other things. I usually joke by saying, you give me a hammer and a nail and I'll probably end up breaking both of it. So, I'm not a very good handyman. I'm certainly no carpenter. But yet again, it is very likely that I can actually help you with your carpentry business because I understand the dynamics of business. And so what was true and was a common denominator for most of my clients were that they were very, very smart people, They were very, very, very good at their trades, but they had a lesser insights into how to run a business for a higher level of performance. So whatever level they were at, or they started out a business, they probably, as many of us do, we start out in business and we kind of like wing it. And maybe we learn, a little bit from our parents, or maybe we learn from a brother or an uncle, or maybe some of the employees, or maybe some of the customers. We learn a lot along the way, but very often the business acumen of really understanding what goes on in a business and how you run a business, especially as it grows, that does not always follow suit unless you truly personally pursue it. So again, common denominator for most of my clients, most of them were truly, truly struggling with their businesses. So they used to have a really good business, they used to make a lot of money, and maybe they even grew the business to a very nice level. And then all of a sudden they wake up one morning, they're scratching their heads and say, what went wrong? Because everything used to be so good. And now they are struggling, they have no cash flow, they have very poor cash flow, they have increasing debt, they have maybe even vendors who say, we cannot deliver anything more to you unless it's a cash on delivery basis. They may have debtors calling, collection agency calling, they may have the bank that says, we have lent you all we can and we really need you to begin to meet the principal payments and the interest payments of the current loans, and maybe you're behind on all of it. And so they're scratching their head and they're thinking, what went wrong? And very often what really went wrong is that the business acumen, as I say, did not quite grow with the business owners and the management as their business grew. So all of a sudden there's a little bit of a gap between how to run the business and get the right results. Now the good news is that, I've seen a lot of these clients in all kinds of industries. And the good news is that very often, even though the things look really, really bleak, there are actually a lot of things you can do, and you can very rapidly, in many, many cases, you can actually turn the results to something much, much better, and you can really help to get the business on the right track. When I went out as a business consultant in person, on site with clients, what I endeavored to do was, as I went and helped them structure the business in such a way that it actually performed better, that I would instruct them and teach them and show them and build their teams and build their systems. And so those are the ideas that I want to convey to you. What I did with the clients in person and on site is basically what I want to bring here in our either the video channel that you might be watching this on, or if you're listening to it on this podcast in future episodes. And so the idea is that, what I did in person was I not only just helped them with their business, but I also instructed them. In other words, it might be, you might think of I helped them learn how to fish instead of just catching the fish for them. So this is the same that I can instruct you. So I know a lot of my clients, sometimes they got a little nervous because they were maybe very great tradesmen at their trade, but when it came to, numbers or books or reading the financial statements or understanding the financial statements or many of the, shall we say, concepts of business and so on, they got a little bit discouraged or a little bit nervous that maybe they would not comprehend it. But rest assured that I will take you by the hand. So for those who are very far ahead of the curve, maybe you feel like this is a little slow paced, and I don't mean to be, but I want to make sure that we do not leave anybody behind. This is meant for helping business owners of all kinds of businesses, all kinds of industries, and all kinds of backgrounds. So whether you are, high educated, high degrees, scholars behind you and so on, or if you have very little school but basically been out working manually or, trades-wise and so on, this is definitely for you. If I go in and talk about some technical terms and so on, I'll try to explain it in a very easy layman terms so that you can definitely follow along. Now further, if you dig a little bit further into my website, theautomatedmillionaire.com, you will see that the businesses that I believe that I can help, because I've helped so many other businesses before, they come from a myriad of industries. And so instead of me trying to remember them off my head, let me just read up to you some of the kind of industries and some of the kind of businesses that I've already helped. And so I also believe that I can actually truly help you almost regardless of what kind of business you have. So I have helped till date. I've helped farmers, car rental companies, agriculture, manufacturing, transit trains manufacturing, services and repairs, wood crafters, furniture manufacturing, audio video stores, industrial equipment rentals, construction equipment rentals, machine and welding, limousine service companies, fabrication, tires and auto stores, construction companies, car collision centers, lawnmower repairs and sales, electricians, HVAC companies, crew transportation services, vacation home rental companies, feed stores and supplies, grain companies, custom home construction companies, marble and granite companies, pharmacies, custom industrial business construction companies, oil reuse companies, tile companies, truck and tractor companies, media companies, promotion companies, agriculture supplies and service companies, road construction companies, trucking companies, food markets, gas stations, restaurants, transportation companies, I think I mentioned that before, roofing companies, movers, fencing contractors, rubber mold contractors, crane businesses, delicatessens, oil suppliers, gas suppliers, supermarkets, house framing businesses, appliance stores, online and personal training businesses, diamond traders and photographers. So as you can see, these are the kind of companies that I have in person, on site help before, and all of them came out with a higher level of knowledge and understanding about how to run the business. They had systems set up and they had a way of now making a better business, and all of them actually performed much better levels as soon as we implemented some of these things. So you can see the variety of companies and the variety of trades and industry and so on goes very deep and wide. So you will be the great tradesman in the specific trade of your company, and I will help you with the understanding and comprehension and how-tos of business, so the how-to of business. So with that said, let me give you a little brief insight of how the life was as a business turnaround agent, and also maybe give you a little bit of an idea about why am I making yet another podcast. There's so many podcasts out there, don't we have enough? Why am I making more video channels? Also, don't we have enough of those already? So I like to get you to understand that the life that I used to have when I went on the road, and I traveled for over about 3 years. I was a business turnaround agent, and I basically traveled somewhat about 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. Sometimes I would see multiple clients within the same 1 week, but typically it would be that Sunday night I would travel out, meet the client at their location Monday morning, and then I would work through Monday to Friday with the client, and sometimes a lot of hours. I've had clients at a great gentleman and his wife, they were actually a lawnmower repair and service company, and sometimes we were working like 16 hours straight with the client, hands-on, fixing the business and making it better and getting them to understand how to look and run the business and run the numbers and setting up incentive programs and what have you. Now, when it came to new assignments, new clients that came in, it would very often be that, I went to the airport Sunday evening. I would have my carry-on suitcase with a few suits and the bare necessities and toiletries and so on. And I would sit at the airport about 4 or 5 o'clock p.m. and I would wait and look at my phone all the time. And what I was waiting for was basically a text message coming in, which would be, here's your client that you're going to see tomorrow morning. Here's the airplane that you're going to jump on. And basically it was like, all right, do you accept the assignment? And basically you would just say, yes, I'm accepting the assignment. Whatever that might be, I'm going to go out and I'm going to help these clients. And so very often this information would come in like very last minute. I've had episodes where I literally had to run through security and was the last passenger on board, and it shut the cabin door right behind me. What it also really means, and this is why I'm telling part of this story, is that it meant very often that I had very, very little prior knowledge of who the client were, what kind of troubles they had and what they did and what kind of industry. And so it wasn't that my background in industry was like, I have a myriad background in industry, in different industries. Well, today I have, because I've met so many people and helped so many different companies and so on. But typically, like for instance, a funeral home, I never dealt with a funeral home before, and next morning I'm going in there and I'm meeting the owners of the funeral home, and I'm there to help them better their business and maybe even pull them out of a terrible situation where they are so close to bankruptcy and we better get some results fast. So typically what then would happen is I would jump into my seat in the airplane, and as soon as, we were up in the air and we were allowed to pull out the computer, and again, I would then look at the email that had been sent once I had accepted the assignment. And in that email, there would be a little bit of information, and it's a tiny bit of information. Maybe it was like 1 or 2 years of P&L, so profit and loss statement. Maybe there was a balance sheet statement also for 1 or 2 years, and maybe there was a small descriptive of what kind of company it was, or maybe what another a colleague of mine had been in there and seen of the company of, well, here's what the owner's experiencing and here's what you'll be met when you come in. But most of the time I would come in the morning and I would have a bare minimum of prior information about this client. And as you can imagine, we were charging a lot of dollars per hour for the client. So everybody wants a value for money, and our guarantee to the clients were actually that for every dollar you spent with us, we would guarantee that you made at least $2 back. So in other words, it wasn't a matter of just coming there and showing them some nice things and some nice theories and so on, or implementing a little bit here, a little bit there. We really needed to get the true results right away. Now, why am I telling this? Well, a couple of reasons. First off, and this is probably the most important part of this reason, is that if we can do that, if I could do that successfully with so many different companies, over many years, I have been, investing, over hundreds of companies. And if I could do that successfully with them, the very likelihood is that if I convey how I did, what I did, help you understand some of these dynamics, now you can do the same for your company, and you can basically be either the turnaround agent if you're in such a situation that your company needs a true turnaround. So you can now be that turnaround agent and turn your business around from struggling to a business that's on the path and actually living and experience prosperity and a great grand future. And you'll have the knowledge and the expertise, the know-how of how to continue that path forward, so that maybe you can even set up and construct in such a way that eventually you can retire from the business, have the business provide you with a livelihood and income for yourself, your family, and for your employees and their families and so on, and having an asset that works for you while you either go and pursue other interests, or maybe you start new businesses or take care of other businesses that need your attention now. The other reason I'm telling you about this is that there is a reason that I could be so successful with it, and that's some of the stuff that we'll get into here in our episodes, not in this episode, but in the future episodes. And the bigger reason, or I think maybe the biggest success reason, or the secret of that success, is that, I didn't go in blindly. I went in blindly maybe to a very large degree about this specific client, but I didn't go in blindly in terms of my acumen and knowledge about business. But more than everything else, I had a system. And so when I help you understand that system, now you can replicate the system for you. Finally, and that is, partly egoistical, from my own personal gain, but also for the gain of a lot of people, is that when I was out doing this in person, on site, you can imagine if you're traveling 5-6 days a week, you have to give up a lot of other things. So, I have 2 relatively small children that I absolutely adore. I have a wonderful, beautiful wife and so on. And I want to spend time with with them. And if I'm out there traveling all the time, I won't have a lot of time with them. When I'm with the clients, I can't speak to them, I can't, put my attention to them. When I'm done with a client, very often it was very late, and so now I might have missed out even having the ability to say hello to my children on a FaceTime or anything like that for that particular day. Most of my personal interaction with those loved ones were also just in weekends, and those weekends, as you can imagine, become very, very short when you arrive late Friday night, maybe even sometimes because of delays or travel hiccups, you're not back until Saturday morning and you're leaving Sunday evening. The other part, and this is a bigger part also, well, I wouldn't say it's a bigger part because those people that I love, they are very important to me. But the other part is that when I was out, I could only help one client at a time. So I could only help whoever I was with in a physical sense on site. I had great difficulty really helping a lot of other clients at the same time. I would sometimes follow up with other clients while I was out and about. In a lunch break or something, I might call them up and say, hey, how are you doing? What about this and that? Did you follow up on that? And what were your results? And so make sure that they stay the path. But bottom line is, I really could only reach one client at a time. And see, once you find a system that really, really works, and once you see the good that it does for people, because look, I've been an entrepreneur who struggled with income and struggled with the bills coming in, the cash flow not being there. And I struggle with, I've been in all of those situations. I've been high and I've been low. I've been in situations where electricity was cut off, internet was cut off, phone was cut off, fear the car might be repossessed. I've been through it all. And I've also been, thankfully, on the other side of the scale where it's like, life is good, money's flowing in, business is great, and I'm traveling and living life of a king. So I know what it is to really be struggling. I know the stresses that comes in and so on. So when I helped these clients and saw that transformation in the energies and emotions and the states and their lives, then I really wanted to do a whole lot more. And so that comes back to the reason, why am I taking this knowledge and so on and bring it out in to the world via the platforms of YouTube and Vimeo, and now with the podcast and so on. Why am I offering my coaching programs and so on group calls and online courses and online accessibility? Well, it is because that way I can help so many more people at the same time and reach so many more people and affect their lives and the livelihood of them and their families. And I know the ripple effect of that is so ginormous. So that is my intention, that this will help a lot more people than I could if I just saw people on a one-to-one basis. The other benefit, of course, is that when I go out one-to-one, I will be charging a lot of money. So although some of my courses and programs and coaching might be, seen at first hand, seen as a relatively high investment, well, first of all, that investment should come in at a very, very high return on your investment. So the ROI, the return on your investment, should be very, very grand, which means that your investment or your access to this information is actually going to be very, very inexpensive. But for a lot of people, it might seem like a lot of money to get the first entry ticket. This again comes back to, well, the YouTube channel, that's going to be freely accessible. The podcast is going to be freely accessible, and you can probably learn a lot from that. Down the road, if you feel like, you know what, I really like your help looking at my specific business, and I really like to have this specific insights into your systems or the specific tools that I'm using, well, you get that through my programs or my coaching and so on. Now, I want to wrap this episode up again. I don't wish to make these episodes too long. Later on in future episodes, as I may do interviews and have discussions with experts in various fields and other brilliant people come and be part of the visiting the show, so to speak, then we might have longer episodes. Or when we are tackling specific how-tos, we'll take whatever time is necessary and so on. But other than that, I like to keep the episodes within a relatively short time span. I value you and I understand the value of time, and I want to respect and appreciate your time and your time investment with us. So with that said, let's wrap up this episode. I hope you understand that this gives you a better idea about why am I doing this. Well, again, if I can affect the lives of so many people and I can see the ripple effect of that, then I will be feeling that I am providing and contributing to the world on a very high and good level. And so I hope that you will support me in that. And again, how do you support me in that? Well, your comments will be greatly appreciated. So you can comment anywhere where there is an ability to comment. If nothing else, you can always send me a direct message via my website, theautomatedmillionaire.com. Any suggestions or any comments and so on will be greatly appreciated. Also, I want you to consider, if please, to hit the subscribe button, and by all means, maybe sharing the channel or the platform with anybody that you think that they might actually benefit from this. In next episode, what I think we'll be looking at is like, well, what are some of those systems? What is that system? How do I go in as a top business expert, as a top business turnaround agent with lots of writing it for the client, with a hefty investment for the client, and a very large guarantee of bringing results expediently. So how do I do that? And so that's when we're gonna hit a little bit, the rubber will meet the road, and we're gonna see that, well, how could you do some of that same thing for your business? So with that said, I thank you so much for your time today. I really, truly appreciate you, and I'll see you in future episode.